So the community at Wolfson is exceptionally diverse. We have people from so many different countries and backgrounds.
Hi everyone, my name is Dan, I'm from Brazil.
Hello, I'm Michaela, I'm from South Africa.
I'm Arjun, I'm from Singapore.
I'm from the United States.
I am from the Philippines.
I'm originally from Yorkshire.
I'm from Shropshire. I'm from Mexico.
I was born in Washington, D.C., but actually grew up all over the world. I spent 6 years in Côte d'Ivoire, West Africa, and 10 years in Tunisia before going back to the U.S.
I'm from Montreal, so I'm French Canadian.
I come from Jerusalem, Israel.
You know, we have so many different people from different countries, different nationalities, different ethnicities.
Yeah. I really don't know a country from which I haven't met someone.
It's like traveling around the world a little bit.
Everybody is also from somewhere else.
Yes.
Because it's such an international community.
Yeah. But you get so many more interesting conversations with people from wherever, and you also get really good holidays. I'm going to Jordan next month to visit a wolf.
A wolf.
A wolf.
And welcome to another Wolfson Entrepreneurs Society live stream event. Delighted to have fantastic panelists for tonight's discussion on commercialization of research. My name is Dan, I'm the Wolfson Entrepreneurs Society Secretary, and I'm joined by Whitney to co-moderate this event. I just wanted to start by explaining a bit about the background of the society and why it came to be. And as you may have just seen from that video, the community of Wolfson is extremely diverse, and there's people from all sorts of backgrounds, expertise. And so the society was launched last year to kind of facilitate discussions and bring all these perspectives together. And so since then, we've put on a number of live stream events, particularly this Michaelmas term. And I think this topic of commercialization of research really fits in quite well with the previous events that we've had. So we've previously talked about funding and tapping into the Cambridge ecosystem. But in those events, we've made kind of no assumptions about where those ideas came from. But of course, as members of a university, a lot of what we do and a lot of ideas come about from our research activities and through university courseworks, etc. And so I think it'll be really great to talk about this kind of different angle or different route into entrepreneurship. So we're delighted to be joined by two amazing speakers, and I'd like to give them an opportunity just to introduce themselves and their backgrounds. Did you want to go for first, Iris?
Thank you. Hi, and thank you, Dan, for inviting me. I'm always delighted to be where I can contribute a little bit to the confusion, perhaps, that to answer a few of the questions that may arise and maybe guide to a better and shorter route to market. My background is a PhD in biochemistry. I then went to do one postdoc in molecular biology and another one in brain research, so very orientated to research. And then medtech opened up. I was very lucky. You don't remember these days, but there was time when there was nothing but academia if you wanted to do research, and all of a sudden a lot of money was channeled there, and the pace of things moved so fast that I had no doubt that I'm moving, and it was almost like betraying the academic world. These days it's not as today, it's jointly together, and we're creating the bridges. So I set up a company, and I was lucky to set up a medical device company, and I learned, we didn't have people to answer our questions. We just went as we did, and we made a lot of mistakes, and we still succeeded to bring a device to the market because we were very enthusiastic about it. I think that nobody could speak with me about anything but this company, poor people. And we brought it to the market, we sold it, we were very connected to the market. We kept asking anybody that could answer, is it good? Is it good enough? And eventually the device was, and the company was acquired. And it's like a virus, you need to do something else once you finish one project. And I joined a serial entrepreneur. I brought his company to India. I then set up operations in India because I realized that every startup needs the Indian market, because this was such, and still is, such a huge market. And I started commercializing in India. I have a company now that I still run. It's been over 20 years. The company is in several areas, and now I sit on both the investment committee of Cambridge University, and I chair the Imperial College TTO, which is the technology transfer. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Iris. It's really great that you've kind of got this perspective from both as an academic and through your PhD and postdocs, but also kind of going through the entrepreneurship journey yourself and then supporting others through kind of Cambridge Enterprise and Imperial Seed Fund. So yeah, it'll be great to chat to you about the role of those tech transfer officers a bit later. Emma, did you want to spend a few moments just to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, and again, as Iris said, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be here and hopefully shed some light on what can be a very interesting topic. Similarities to Iris's career and some very different jobs as well. I did a PhD that was commercially funded some time ago, and I had exposure at the time to academia and of course to the commercial world. So I got a taste for the commercial side of stuff when I could see that my research impact was able to have impact, and I went and worked for the company that sponsored my research. It was in defense chemistry, so I ended up in the Ministry of Defense and working for some time at defense-related research and products. I then went back into academia, but not as an academic. I saw the value in the research that was sitting within universities, and I wanted to do something about it. So I spent some time at King's College London and at Imperial College London. And the idea there was that I wanted to have impact on moving the research out of the university. Seeing that government funding played a huge role in that process, I joined Innovate UK. And I've been with Innovate UK now 3 years. Innovate UK is part of UK Research and Innovation. We are one of 9 councils, and we are a public body that funds research, development, and innovation. Huge commitment from the government. We're looking at 2.4% of GDP by 2027. So we take the innovation space and the funding of academic research very, very seriously. I'm hugely passionate about the work that we do in entrepreneurship. Innovate UK has typically been the business funder, while the research councils would fund the academic sphere. But of course, there's a gap between academia and industry. And that's where me and others in my team would step in. So we really want to manage that gap. We want to make sure that people have enough support to be able to bridge that gap. And we really want to see the ideas coming out of universities. We have some of the best universities in the world and some of the brightest minds. And really, that's what we're here to do, is to support that. So really interested in the discussion this evening. It's close to my heart, and I'm hoping that I can, as I say, shed some light on a really interesting topic.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you so much, Emma and Iris, for the lovely introductions. And thank you, Daniel, for the lovely introduction you gave too. So we're just going to go right into it. So given that our topic today is on commercialization of research outputs, so we're going to first speak to the audience on why commercialization of research. So what are the differences between researching for academia or publications and for end users? So Iris, since you already started with the introductions, it would be lovely for you to start with.
Sure. Well, you asked about the similarities or the difference? The difference.
The differences. Yes.
The difference could be summarized in a story that I will tell you. I had, after having done all the PhD and the 2 postdocs, I was in an interview for my first job, and I really wanted to get it, and it was about apoptosis, and I didn't know anything about apoptosis because it was a new field, and I looked online and I saw like 12,000 papers about it, and I nearly panicked, and eventually I had like a few days to learn that, and I came to the interview and I said, if you give me the job and I needed to run a long-term project, I will use these 3 methods. And the CEO looked at me and he said, "That's all very good that you know the subject, but I want you to tell me the one that will take me to the market, the fastest and the least, the most unequivocal." And that's the difference. In academia, you want to support your theory, and you want to strengthen it with maybe different angles to look at it. In the industry, time to market and time is money, and you need to shorten it as much as possible. So you have to think a lot and look at which route will bring you to the market the fastest and in a most reliable way. And I think that's, if I had to summarize, this is the one thing that is different. Of course, there are many other little things, like in the academia, you really like to share things and you share with each other and you write articles. In industry, you don't want to write an article because it will ruin your option to have an IP, to have a patent. So these are also things, but these are the details. I'm talking about the thinking. The thinking is different.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, Iris. Emma, would you want to give your own?
Yeah, I think if I think back to my own career, conversations that I would either have with my academic supervisors, or indeed when I was in industry as a product development engineer, conversations I would have with them when I was researching ideas. The difference in academia, the question you get asked is, has somebody done it before? Is it new? Is it novel? The thing you get asked in industry is, who will buy it? And how much will they pay for it? So an absolutely different focus. We're both are very interested in new ideas and new technologies, but ultimately the focus is different. And I think that's what the difference in research and academia, or research for industry, is. In industry, we're always driven by a market need. There has to be a customer fit. There has to be somebody that's willing to buy this or that will use it. Whereas in academia, it's about that excellence, that impact in the academic world. You want to do better than other academics. You want to be the first to do something. I think that's probably how I would summarize it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So if you were to speak on how entrepreneurship and research, how they overlap, what would be your takes on that, on the overlap between the two, since you've shed light on the differences? Emma, do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Both very lonely places, I would say. You have to have a particular mindset, and we certainly talk about a mindset and an intent when we define commercialization in UKRI. We say that there's two I's: there's an intent and there's an idea. So I think the similarities between entrepreneurship and research, it comes down to that mindset. A lot of the time you're spending, you're doing a lot of work by yourself, so you have to be motivated to see this through. But you depend on others. So whether that's in a business setting or in academia, you depend on the input. But I think it's also about excellence, and it's having the standards. So we talk about research excellence quite freely in universities. You would hold the same level of expectation around entrepreneurship as well. But as I say, both very lonely places. You have to have a commitment about you, and I think be very motivated. And I think Iris can talk about that from her own experience.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Emma. I wanted to say the first thing that came to my mind is perseverance. You fall, you dust yourself, you continue. You think that you get something, but you don't get it. It's not a black or white; it's a gray area, and then you have to really think and not to get tired of it or not to get depressed of it, but to keep thinking in an optimistic way. I also think that creativity is something that is very similar between the two. You have to be creative. The focus, as Emma also said, is different, but it is actually the same type of people, committed, clever, working towards a goal that is elusive, more than clear in so many ways.
I think, that perseverance also relates to being okay with failing. So if we think about ourselves in an academic environment and in a lab, the experiment doesn't work, you tweak something and you do it again. And you keep on doing that till you start to get results, or the results flow. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. It's being okay with failing, because you're not failing in the sense of it's all over. You just learn something, you tweak it, and you try again. And I think that's another similarity, and being okay with that, because as researchers, we want it perfect and we want as much data as possible, and that's not always possible. So it's being able to understand what you have and what you're looking for, and put those two together, and that's very similar in entrepreneurship as well.
True. I want to add two more things. One, and so many times I say, I think and I say, so lucky that I did a PhD, because I think I learned methodic thinking, and that's really helpful. You know how to plan your day, plan your quarter, plan your year, or your thesis, and that's really helpful. You know where to start, where you want to get, how you get there. That's what you learn as a PhD student, but also you learn to look at all the results and learn from them, even if you failed. Meaning, if I had an experiment and it didn't give me what I want, but it did give me an understanding that this direction maybe is not a good direction. So I already gained from it, because this direction I put aside. So I think going through this trial and error in your PhD, planning, going through it, learning the results each time I do it. Also, it really helps in business. Whenever we even succeed, it's a repeat pattern for me. I always think, could we have done it better? What did we do that we can learn from it to the next stage? So it's something that you bring with you to all the areas when you become an entrepreneur. So don't think that it's a diversion. It's a fantastic school, I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Iris and Emma, for sharing your thoughts on that, talking about perseverance, the good of methodological thinking and constant iteration, as you touched on. So this is really good points for our viewers. So thank you on that. Dan?
Yeah, I thought they were really good points, and yeah, I definitely relate to that kind of idea of pivoting in my own PhD and the kind of trial and error and that sort of thing. But I just wanted to bring back to that point, Emma, you made about this different way of thinking of will someone buy it rather than has it been done before. And so I guess in a way, not every kind of research idea or kind of innovation in the lab should or perhaps can be commercialized. So kind of the next question I wanted to address was, how do you identify an idea or piece of research which can or should be commercial?
The big thing for us, Daniel, is around market analysis, and it comes back to that product market fit. And it I can hear the business director at my company where I went to work initially saying to me, well, look, who's going to buy it? And that is ultimately what people are interested in. You need to sell this eventually. So for us, we have a program of funding that we offer to academics that are interested in testing the market or understanding the potential for their research. And all it is funding to go and explore the market, to go and talk to people. And I don't mean go and present the research. That's not what it's all about. It's to go and listen, really. It's to understand what policy direction exists, what regulations or what regulatory constraints exist out there. It's talking to customers, it's talking to experts, it's talking to potential competitors, and it's really collecting a body of evidence to understand what is the market saying about my technology or my research idea. And it's putting those two together and seeing where it aligns. So with iCure, which is the program that we fund, we would send an individual out. Pre-COVID, they would have physically gone all over the world and had these conversations. Now, of course, a lot of it's done online, but it still works online because you're not having to fly and think of time zones as difficult as they might be. You can, call just from your home. And the idea is to just collect a body of evidence and to find out, is there a challenge that my research is addressing? Is there a need for what it is that I'm doing? And you spoke about a pivot, and this is where we see a lot of pivots, but we absolutely love a pivot, because then we know that we're investing in the right stuff. We know that we need to stop going down this road and maybe divert to something else. And we know ultimately that somebody is going to buy this at some point, or somebody will use it. I talk about people buying it. Of course, it's not always about selling. We have the social enterprises that are doing well in society. And again, they're addressing a challenge or they're addressing a need. So I would say absolutely the backbone of all this is market analysis and engaging with the customer.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was just going to, touch upon that point at the end about, addressing the need. And I guess as a PhD student, I guess a lot of people often are thinking about publications and maybe not thinking about the kind of wider impact that you could have in industry. And so, yeah, Iris, I didn't know whether you had any other comments about, how you identify or how you kind of look at your research in that different way.
I think that this is a mindset that one has to get into. It's not just in the lab, you just open your eyes and start thinking about the world in a different way. My way of thinking it's been like this forever. And I remember the discussion around the dinner table with my daughters is, how will the world be in 5 or 10 years? So this was like a game, yeah? And funnily enough, my younger daughter used to walk with a little notebook, writing her ideas. So it's something that becomes a mindset, yeah? You think around and you think, can it be better? So instead of just accepting the world as it is because somebody else created it, you become a component that can make a difference. Once you do this, and once your mind is tuned to it, you will see that even in the lab, or also in the lab, it's not really just in the lab. You will start thinking, okay, I'm doing this. Yes, I'm working on this interesting topic. How exactly can it really benefit to the world except basic science? Basic science is really important, but what can I do with it? What can I do with it in my lifetime? I'm not talking about my grandchild. Yeah, what can I do? What device, or is it a device that will become a pharma afterwards? Once you start thinking this way, you will see that you would maybe sometimes need to talk to someone else from another discipline just to air it, and then you are a group. They will bring different perspective, and all of a sudden you are there. Of course, it's really important to know what's in the market, yes, because you think, oh wow, I'm going to do this, but then if you start learning what there is, you see that there are a few things. And this leads me to something that is really important. A lot of young entrepreneurs have an idea, and it's a good idea, but it's just a little difference from what there is in the market. And I always call it the chupchik. It's a little thing, yeah? And the chupchik will not be enough for people to adopt to it. Sometimes it is just not worth the burden of adjusting to a new method, yeah, or just changing whatever you have because you know it. I mean, think about shampoo. You buy the same shampoo because it's a habit. People like their habits. So you have to think, what do I bring to the table that is really going to be so cool, so good, that people will say, wow, I really need that. That's where you are onto something that is really going to succeed. And the way is long there even, but at least the starting point is not just a little chupchik.
Iris, you're absolutely right. And we would term that the value proposition. So what are you adding that doesn't already exist? Whether it's that you're improving a product or service that's in the marketplace, or it's something completely new. But it's, what is the value? What is the difference? Because that's what sells. That's what people are interested in, and that's when you will get those early adopters.
Yes, and if I may continue what Emma is saying, it's absolutely fine to go through this process and find out that actually it's a little chupchik. Yeah, it's fine, because it's the process, it's the training that you're going through. You learn how to do that, because next time you will think about something bigger and something right. And actually, I always say, if you thought of something and it exists and even selling in the market, you are in the right path, because you have thought independently about something that is already successful. So don't be, don't be downhearted. Don't feel a failure. Not at all. It's a good thing you learned it early enough before you spend too much time on it. But that's exactly the process, and the process is more important than the result. At least at the beginning, you have to train.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. And, when you were saying about talking to other people to kind of broaden your perspective on things, that brings me back to kind of the motivation of the society at the start. And, I think we're incredibly lucky at the university to have, experts on a lot of different topics. So, yeah, I'd recommend talking with people outside of your discipline. I know that's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to say that keep your questions coming in through the Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn comment sections. They all feed directly to us here. So we will, if we don't get a chance to answer them as they come in, we will dedicate the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes to making sure we answer all the questions. So do interact with us throughout this. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Emma, just to touch upon the backdrop of what you talked about, policies and stuff. So in your own opinion, some people have the opinion that is a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. But what do you say is like the process to commercialization in the sense of IP and regulations and policies and all that good stuff? What's your take on that?
So this is where a lot of it's actually devolved. So although we act on behalf of the government and we fund research and innovation across the UK, IP policy can be very unique to a university setting. So I would encourage those of you interested to have conversations with your tech transfer office, because these are basically your Bible to commercialization. They're very well trained individuals who understand the commercialization process and understand the barriers, which of course is what they're there to help you overcome. IP, I think we have a tendency sometimes in universities to overprotect it or to overvalue it. So it's coming back to what is the root of the research. What is it in it that's very different, and understanding that. So IP protection is one step, but understanding first of all what is at the root of the IP. This can get a bit difficult when you have multidisciplinary stuff, and you need an ambitious tech transfer office to understand all the different sectors that this could apply to, and understanding how to protect that. And as I say, getting out there and talking to people. So it's understanding what the market need is, so that you can understand what the commercialization process can look like, because there's several vehicles to commercialization. We could have a spin-out company, so where you completely remove yourself from the academic environment and go out into a company and get that incorporated. There is licensing, so if the competition within the sector is very high, or you have a piece of know-how or technology that can be licensed, that's another route. Or there could be further collaborative research with industry partners. So you are putting the academic know-how into a business idea that maybe the vehicle already exists within that. But I would say first and foremost, if anybody is interested, that they go and have a conversation, because every university across the UK is very different. They have strategies within the university on how they do commercialization. And I think maybe Iris might be able to expand a bit more with the links into Imperial, but that would be my first port of call, is really to understand what support you have within the university and what their preferred routes are.
Yeah, well, it's true that different universities give different support, but I can say that both in Cambridge and in Imperial, that I'm highly involved with TTO, there are different routes, but all of them are very, very supportive. So if you have an idea and you're not sure about it, do a bit of digging. So learn a little bit about it and try to understand what exactly you want to, your product or your wish product is, but then go in and grab tea, coffee, or Zoom with one of the TTO people that are extremely helpful and constructive. In Cambridge, we have Cambridge Enterprise that invests in the new spin-outs, and we take each of them very, very seriously. But before they come to us, we have all sorts of channels where we help, and the guidance that you get through this is enormous. So you can have even a convertible loan that is like 50,000, 75,000 pounds, and a year of help with IP, with business plan, with understanding how to start, and I think that this mentorship is as important, if not more important, than the money itself. It brings you to us and to other investors when you are what we call investor ready. So you know how to present yourself, you know what you want to be, you know what sort of things to put in your presentation. Sometimes we see presentations that are very, they are inappropriate, they're not ready, they're not baked yet. So we have ways to make sure that when they come to the investment committee, they are ready. In Imperial College, we have many channels as well. We have Enterprise Lab, and we have IVMS. It's where you can have mentors for a year, even for a few years, and this is free of charge. You have to be just connected somehow to the Imperial ecosystem. You could be an alumni of Imperial, and there you get huge amount of support. You also get support, by the way, from being in this group of people that get this mentorship. You talk to each other, and you talk to other entrepreneurs. You learn a lot from each other. And you learn, all the mentors are people that were selected very carefully, and they are from the industry. They would help you ask the right questions and then answer them, and they will bring you to eventually to investment committees like us and external investors.
Okay. Thank you so much, Emma and Iris, for sharing that perspective. But another question is on the touch of like the processes. So both of you have shared the perspective from a UK perspective, but our audience is an international audience. So can you touch on maybe the processes, if it varies across regions, in the sense of maybe Europe and North America? And as Iris mentioned, you work in India. Is the process
Sure.
a bit different there, or?
Sure. Yeah, well, it really, I mean, the processes are different because the environment is totally different, and it also quite changes if the governments support or not. I think many governments now have some sort of support, and as a young entrepreneur, I always say, go and look for what we call non-diluting funding. This is like Innovate UK and other, I mean in the UK, but you have it also in other places where you can get grants, either from the government, usually from the government, or industry bodies. This is less, but yes, also depending on where. And it just helps you to kick off, and it helps you to just make sure that you are on the right path before you get to get really investment that you part of your shareholding. In India, it's interesting because when over 20 years ago, when I started my affair, my love story with India, there wasn't much entrepreneurship. There was big family companies that went, they were within the family. So one generation set it up and the next generation ran it. I don't call it entrepreneurship. It was quite conservative, and the situation was different. India in early 2000 or late 90s of the last century opened up to the West, and you could see invasion. You could see so much exposure in a good way, yes, exposure to what's happening in the West. And now you can see a new generation of Y or Z generation that are very proud in India. They have ecosystems in Bangalore, Bombay, Hyderabad, Pune, all the big cities, even tier 2 cities, and they have their own ecosystem. They have investments, they have accelerators, and there is indeed a lot of entrepreneurship there. I can talk about Israel. I'm an Israeli. I was born there. Israeli government invests a lot in the early stage, and they have different levels of investment. And it not only creates a good starting point, but it also causes people to have this mindset of being an entrepreneur because the system is there. So in America, of course, you have through the universities, you have through accelerators, you have either in San Diego or in Boston or in San Francisco, the Silicon Valley, you have clusters that help, and you just have to be part of it, and then you learn a lot of what's happening there. Luckily we have the internet, and people can just browse and look into what there is available.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that, Iris. Emma, do you have anything to touch on?
No, it was just to expand on the point about clusters. So we see a lot of co-location. So that's where we would have startup companies or established companies co-located with research groups or within universities. So you might have an innovation park that's close to a university, for example. It's big in America, so they tend to co-locate a lot of business people with university researchers, and the idea is that your first customer is on your doorstep. But absolutely, as Iris has said, it comes down to the funding that exists and the support through accelerators, whether that's in mentorship or business support. What will differ is probably your IP protection. So depending on what market you want to look at, whether it's just the UK, whether it's Europe, whether it's global, how you protect the intellectual property and launch patents out of that is probably the biggest difference. But really, we tend to mirror each other. We'll see what the Americans are doing, and we tend to follow a lot in the footsteps of America. They have a better risk appetite for entrepreneurship. So if you fail, you're considered worthy of further funding or investment or support, because if you fail, you know. Whereas here we're a little slower to support that. If you sometimes people are of the mindset if you fail, there's a worrying thing there. But no, absolutely, it's as Iris said, it's the support and it's the infrastructure around accelerators and finance.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Emma and Iris. I'll just give it off to Daniel.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're really lucky to have Cambridge Enterprise in Cambridge. I was looking at their website before this, and it comes across as more of like a process than kind of a one-time meeting. Right? And I saw this example of a team in the physical sciences department had made like this sensor. And Cambridge Enterprise worked with them to kind of look at different markets, and over the course of a long time, kind of came to the right one. So I definitely encourage people to have a look at their website and the schemes that they run. One of the points that I wanted to touch on that Emma you brought up was this kind of decision between licensing or kind of spin-outs, and I guess for those who are thinking about commercialization research, I guess there's quite a big decision, a lot of factors involved. I was wondering if you had any insights into that.
Absolutely. So really, if to try to answer that, if we consider why ventures might fail, there's four things that must be considered. The first is if we look at the team, so who's involved in this. The second is their commitment. So are they committed to the idea? Are they able to give time to the idea? The third would be around a source of capital. So is there funding around this? And the fourth, and I'll keep on preaching about this, it's the market analysis. It's understanding the need. by having all that information together, you'll quickly be pointed towards a vehicle for commercialization. If you don't have the team that's willing to spin out, or they're able to afford the time for it, then a spin out is not the vehicle for you. It's a very different environment to academia. It's a risky one in the sense that for quite some time a salary might not be there. So if we think of moving ideas out of the university and into the marketplace via spin out, the individuals involved in the research in academia, a portion of their time will need to be spent in the spin-out company. And if they have commitments for teaching or for research within the university, that's very, very difficult to balance. One thing we need to look at is the external factors. So what does competition look like for your technology? And if competition is very high, how will you as a spin-out company, which is a micro-sized company, compete with an established business? So it could be that licensing is the better option, and you'll get a return much quicker by licensing that technology rather than trying to set up a company and then grow that company and then ultimately compete. Time might be another factor. So realistically, how close to market is this technology? And that will be a decision point as well. So if it's really on the edge of market grab or market pull, as we say, you might then have more options available to you. If we're on the other side where it's a technology push and there needs to be more engagement from academia, or there needs to be further development, again, that would signpost to the types of vehicles for commercialization. But the four things that I would come back to is: what is the team, or who is the team? What is their commitment? Is there capital? So is there funding? And what does the market say? And really that will identify to you what your options are. But there's several vehicles, as we spoke about, for commercialization. But I think you need to be honest about those four things, and then the decision becomes very obvious.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Iris, do you have any points on that from being on the committee?
Coming from Israel, there are lots of companies that do the spin out, or they are not even connected to a university. There is a lot of most of the startups are not really connected to a university. They happen post-university, and the infrastructure with universities is not so that alumni are a part of it. So there is an ecosystem for it there, and it's the natural thing to do. So I'm happy and I feel confident with this route to market. And also here you have angel groups, and you can do it. Yeah, you can do it if you are bold enough and committed, and you believe in your product. You made your analysis properly, and you can get also support, and you're not afraid to fail a little, change your direction, and just be bold and go for it. You can do it. If you're in the university, you come from the university, you're a PhD at the university. My other side, the other hand is, don't be too greedy. Go, this is your first enterprise, get as much support as you can. If you are at the university, you can stay at the university, and it will be cheaper for you for a much longer term, because you have all sorts of arrangements with the university. You don't have to hire a place, and you can do it. You can have a PhD that is your colleague, and he does a part of the work as a part of his PhD or postdoc. These matter. You can change. You have enough cushion to be able to change and learn under the radar, as we call it, before you get to the knowledge of the market. So you can. I think it's much safer. I would suggest that I don't really care that much about valuation and IP, how much IP I give. It's usually within a range that is fair, but within this fair range, I don't think it matters, because if you think that the company will then be sold, let's say one day, instead of 100 million for 150 million, it all becomes not important, right? You cannot decide. And now people can fight over if it's 2.75 or 3 million. It really doesn't matter. What matters is your support, your time to market. This is one thing that never gets to any of the business plans. Time to market is not a factor, but is the most important factor. When do you get to the market? Are you going to get there when you will become obsolete because someone else got there before you? This is huge, yeah? So I would say do it the way that you think can get your results best and fastest. Whether it is within the university, great, go for it. If you are successful, you will enjoy it, and you will enjoy enough of it also there. If you don't have the chance, still go for it, because there are ways.
Great, thanks, Iris. I think they're really useful comments there. Just while Whitney's trying to reconnect, just thought I guess we've spoken about this a little bit, and you saying about having perseverance and being able to pivot and these sort of things. What other kind of, I guess, anyone watching who might be a researcher who might be thinking about commercializing their research, what sort of tips or what sort of skills do you need to be able to make that leap of faith?
I will take it first. I think you have to have enough confidence that you can succeed, first of all. You want to be curious enough and enthusiastic about it that you want to go through it. It's not the easiest route. It's a roller coaster. One day you're on the Olympus and the other day, you're below the waves and you drink a lot of salty water. It's not fun. And then, you get up and it's beautiful again and the sun shines, etc. And then bloop, you are inside. And you have many of those moments. And I can tell you, I remember those moments as well. But it's the adrenaline and it's the passion to get there and to make a difference. And I think your experience, through this experience, you learn so many good things. You meet so many interesting people. You develop personally from being a PhD student, which is great, to leading something that could really make a big difference. And this makes you, I think, a better person. This makes you feel that you contributed to the world in a special way, and I think that it's worth the journey.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think there's skills that we already have as PhD students or as early career researchers or as academics, and that is creative thinking, independence, knowledge seeking, so that hunger for knowledge. We have those already, and those are certainly qualities of an entrepreneur. I would reiterate what Iris says around confidence and determination. Confidence is a huge part of it. Confidence in your own ability and confidence in the technology. Determination, because there are some dark days, as there are in any PhD or in academia. You have, lows. You'll have those certainly in as an entrepreneur. I think there's two though that stand out for me on top of all those that I've mentioned. One is around relationship building. We tend to sit in a bubble sometimes in academia. And being an entrepreneur, you have to be able to just go out and talk to people and go out and listen. And it's being able to, recognize an opportunity and strike up a conversation. So that relationship building and networking is key. And then I've mentioned it a few times already, risk taking and being comfortable with risk, I would say are other qualities of an entrepreneur.
Yes, I have to add something after Emma, because it's all we seem to agree, although we came from a little different background, but a lot of it is also overlapped. I always say life begins out of your comfort zone, and that summarizes it all. You can for life, you can do the same thing. You will be very protected. You think, nobody is protected, but it feels more protected. It's known. It's something that you know how you think, how the day will end, etc. But real life real life begins really outside of your comfort zone. And I always say, to people generally, even if they're not entrepreneurs, do 1 to 3 things that are out of your comfort zone and you're alive. So think about, augment it as an entrepreneur. You're outside of your comfort zone. You think you completed the technology, then you're in commercialization. Then you need to fundraise. You're outside of your comfort zone, but it makes you a better person. It qualifies you, and I think it's much more fun.
Yeah, I think those points of being out of your comfort zone, I guess. I know a lot of people who might be listening might think, I don't have negotiation skills and might be required to, liaise this commercial license you were talking about, things like that. But I guess that, relates to the point about, reaching out to Cambridge Enterprise and developing a support network and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would reiterate wholeheartedly what Iris said. Never underestimate where you're coming from. So universities have huge reputations and infrastructure. You're not doing this on your own. You're taking a leap, and a personal leap, and as Iris said, out of your comfort zone. But you have a support network around you, and by all means, just go and utilize that. Go and speak to there's a version of Cambridge Enterprise everywhere, or there's accelerators. Do just reach out and have those conversations.
Yeah.
Just before we go to the audience, just the last question for the people at home. So in regards to building a good team, what would you say makes a good team? Because we've spoken about the individuals, but the success of the project as a whole is a collective effort. So what would you say makes a good team in your opinions? Start with.
I think we have a tendency to think that the technology is the most important thing, and we tend to bring in a lot of technical people into a business early days. I will, as somebody involved in businesses and funding businesses and see why businesses fail, I will look towards, again, the market side of it, the business model. So who's doing the strategic thinking for the business? Who's thinking about 5 years and 10 years and funding streams? If somebody's brilliant at the technology, they're not going to have that skill set. So you need a balanced team. Marketing is a huge thing. So it's fine being able to describe the technology at academic conferences and educate people in that sense. But really, we want to make it look like a product. So there needs to be some level of branding or market insight to that. So I would say you need technical people. You need people who are good at strategy. Finance is a big thing. So how are we going to fund it? When are we going to see a return on investment? And marketing is a huge department. And to try to get a balance on that is what I would recommend. It's not always about the technology. The technology is at a stage now where it can be commercialized. We need to bring in the business side of stuff beyond that.
Yeah. And if I may add, I would hire people that have something that I don't have, that are better than me in what I'm less good, and if I am a technology person, I'm the expert because I'm the PhD student, I will go for the commercial people because I don't have that. I will learn from them. And we tend to hire people that are like us, and that's a mistake. I would also, it's really important that the marketing and the market, and we keep saying that we're coming back to it with every question you ask, it's important the market will lead the development rather than development will think that they can educate the market. So let's say that you have an idea, and I will just give it as an example of how important it is to have a marketing or a commercial person as soon as you can afford these people, because you have an idea. You made your market research to the best of your knowledge, and you think that this is the direction. Then the marketing or commercial person starts to go to conferences and to the market and to ask people, and then they come back with different ideas. The price range is so and so. It's actually not even the device should be on desktop and not on the ground. I mean, little and big things. It needs to. It's an analyzer, but you don't need every 2 minutes to produce the results in 2 minutes. The market will be happy with 10 minutes, which means that the whole process is different. And that's how you create a better and better device or product. And therefore, you need these people as early as you can.
Thank you so much, Emma and Iris, for sharing that with us. So I think we're good to go into the questions from the audience. Daniel, would you want to start on that?
Sure, yeah. So first question here from Arba. Hello, if there is no peer review in private sector in fear of ruining intellectual property, would that not hurt validity and reliability of the research? Anyone like to have a go at that one?
Peer review.
I would imagine if we're doing research in the private sector, so I'm sorry, trying to understand this question, is this research in a commercial setting rather than in an academic setting? That's how I'm going to approach the question, is that you will probably be doing research in a commercial setting against a set of requirements. So you know already that there's a need for it, or you're designing against a customer requirement spec. So your validity and reliability will come out of the testing that is relevant to that product or to that service that it is that you're trying to design. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure that I've understood the question.
Yeah, if Alba, you want to clarify in the comments section a bit more.
I think I might understand it, but it took me time while you were answering to maybe. What I think Arber is asking, if I don't have research publications because I don't want to ruin my IP, how will people take me seriously? So I think it's a valid question. I think you have to write the IP before, and then you can write your articles. So you just have to make sure that you are quiet until you put, you submit your patent. When your patent is submitted, you have about a year and a half that nobody sees the patent publicly, and you can. But your prior art is the date that you submitted it, and then you can gain more credibility through your research article. You can also get in touch with what we call key opinion leaders, KOLs, and if they endorse you and they believe in you, that's a very good endorsement to the market. So you can do it in both ways and in different times.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Alba. So we're going to take the next question from MV. So suppose I found an idea and mapped out the market need. What would be the immediate next steps in the process? How early would you engage with Cambridge Enterprise or similar organizations?
You have to. It's great if you have an idea, and it's great that you think you map the market needs. Now, the question is, what is your product? What exactly will it be? What is your competition? Do you know how much you could sell it for, and who will buy it? Try to get as many answers to those basic questions, and then you can. Cambridge Enterprise, for example, has a template on their website, and I'm sure others would have the same, with the questions that they would ask you to answer, and this will give you a good understanding of how prepared you are towards meeting them.
Okay, Amma, do you have anything to add to that?
No, my slant would be on the funding side of it. So understanding what you have, what you need, and then beginning to have the conversations around that, whether that it's you go to a government body like us and apply for a grant, or you look towards your seed funding or your investment. But I would always say engage early, so that you don't waste time, because the longer you wait thinking about it, others can get there before you, or the TTO office or Cambridge Enterprise might have different priorities. So if you're even thinking about it and you think you have something, definitely engage early.
Yeah, I assume if you emailed Cambridge Enterprise, they would tell you if you need to go back away or kind of think about it a bit more.
Exactly. And the websites have a lot of guidance.
Yeah, I'd suggest people go to that website. We can always post a link in the video description if needed. So on to the next question from David. How does the Innovate UK support researchers towards commercialization? Is there any funds available for researchers to spin out their research output? Emma, I guess this one will directed at you.
Solely for me, no problem. We have a program called iCure, which is nothing to do with Apple and nothing to do with medicine. The name stands for Innovation to Commercialization of University Research. And it's aimed at early career researchers who want to commercialize their research. So they just need to have a technology idea, and we will fund them to go and explore the market for that idea. After that, we have ring-fenced funding within Innovate UK to allow them to spin out. So they would get in the order of 35,000 for 3 months, which covers salary, and it did cover travel. But the idea being that you go out and you have these conversations, you do your customer validation and you explore the market. Then you come back to us, and if the recommendation is, or if the evidence points towards a spin out, you can apply to us, and it's ring fenced, so you're not competing with the whole of the UK. You're applying alongside other iCure participants, and you can apply for £300,000, which is to spin out that company. The idea being that the funding, and it comes back to having that right team and the right people around you, the funding is not for further product development. The funding is very much to bring in a business team to get that research idea looking like a business, so that you are more investor ready. So we recognize that you could do it on your own, and you will get there eventually. The idea behind this is that it's support to allow you to do it faster. So it's £300,000, as I say, and it's 100% funded. So it's aid for startups. There's no requirement for matched funding, and the idea being that you bring in, the right team, and you think about getting investor ready. So you start to act and look like a company. Through Daniel or whoever, I'm more than happy to post some links, or however I can get that information to you. But iCure is the name of the program. If you do a Google search and my name, it'll probably bring up the link.
Yeah, that'd be great. I can always forward it on. And just to clarify, so for the iCure program, do people apply via the website? Is there open dates, closing dates?
It doesn't. You don't apply through Innovate UK. So we have delivery partners that are based regionally at universities, and the idea is that we run 6 competitions a year, so roughly every 2 months. If you don't have to apply within your region. You can apply to any of those, and you apply. It's a really simple application process. It's just a 2-pager with questions that you need to fill in. As I say, you apply. It's simple and through the delivery partner, but I can share all that information.
That would be great. Thanks very much. It sounds really good. We'll move on to the next question.
So the next question is from Double O. So the desire to commercialize research may become disassociated with the desire to discover in someone who understandably wants to earn. So how do we strike an effective balance between the two?
Yeah, this is a point that I raised earlier around it's the team and the commitment. And this is why commercialization often fails, is because the desire to earn money and to stick with a job that's secure often outweighs the desire to commercialize or the time it takes and so on. And it's really having the right people. It's being committed from the outset. So recognizing that there might be some tough times. If you can't do it 100% yourself, it's being honest about that and then bringing in the people that can, because it's a huge commitment. So if you're nervous about leaving academia and the paid position that you have there, you need to be honest about that, and you need to identify the people that are committed to leaving. academia or going into that spin-out environment.
If I may add, there is also risk. I mean, being an entrepreneur, you're going through a path that may be a dead end at a certain point. So you have a risk that you take in order to finish. Many times you can stay in the academia and do your job in a way that create the basis that will be wider before you take the risk. So you minimize your risk. But of course, if you need to earn money, or this is your priority for whichever reason, then this is less of your way, and then either join a company that just raised money and need people like you, because you will still be part of their dream, but it may not be exactly that you begin. Still very, very good, but that's the closest to joining both worlds.
Okay, thank you so much, I'm an Iris, for that. So I'll pass on the next one to Daniel.
Great. So another question from Envy. Does the TTO at Cambridge facilitate intros to other investors? Which organizations in Cambridge are the best to get intros to funding sources?
I suppose I will answer that. So the TTO as a Cambridge enterprise, we help both bring you to become investor ready, and we're very happy to introduce you to the investors that we think are appropriate. We help with many times with board positions. We recommend, this is your decision and your choice, but we recommend. Many times we even discuss specific people that we help with for when you hire. We help with this with strategy. We really handhold entrepreneurs to help them get there. So it includes investment. It includes many times help with evaluation and with structure. And many times companies come to us and we have all sorts of internal hurdles, and we nominate one of us to work with this company to prepare it, and then they come back more prepared. So I think we're extremely constructive because we want you to succeed, and your success is our success, and the track record shows that.
I would also add to that a resource that exists within Innovate UK called the Knowledge Transfer Network, or the KTN. It's there specifically to make introductions. So whether it's connecting ideas, connecting academia and industry partners, it will signpost you to funding that exists across UKRI as well. So you don't have to engage with an individual. You can log on to the website and put in your preferences for sector areas that you want it to be alerted to. And then as time passes, you can fine tune that if you see that some is not relevant, or you can be pinpointed to a knowledge expert who you can establish a relationship with. But definitely, I would encourage you to get on some distribution lists there, because that's a good signposting source as well.
That's great, thank you. And I'd also recommend having a look at one of our previous events where we discussed funding in more detail. It might depend on the kind of level of funding you're looking for. So you can find that on our YouTube channel. So if we move on to the next question.
So this question is from Chuksti. So any idea on assessing fund for research-related spin-outs?
Yeah, so the one that I mentioned was iCure, but you can't go in directly and say, I want money to spin out. We would put you on that market customer validation program first for 3 months, and then you have the funding to spin out. Otherwise, it's really back into your university to understand what funds they have. So a lot of funds go to universities from Research England or from the research councils, and they're basically allocated to deliver impact from the research. So there could be funding within the university that you could apply to, and your TTO will signpost to that. Otherwise, for us, it's iCure, and as I say, there's a 3-month commitment required before you would be able to compete for the spin-out funding.
Yep.
So Iris, do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah, I think that it really depends where your ecosystem is, where you're from, and what's available for you. Luckily, as I said, the internet is there and is open, and you can just Google and talk to people, and one will lead to another. LinkedIn, connect through LinkedIn and get through that. Ask questions. People like to help. And look what we're doing today. I mean, we want people that are in this field. The nice thing is that we're all sort of really helping each other, and therefore I think LinkedIn is a good place to find through and get to know people. But really, the internet would just lead you to a lot of the sources that are around you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. So we're going to go to the next one.
Okay, so another question from Envy. What happens if the idea or market is sound, but the researcher can't put a team together? Can the technology transfer office help to bring a team together? Do these ideas get marketed elsewhere? Iris, did you want to start on that one?
Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. If the IP is strong enough for the university to decide to register it, then it will have a value. In some places there is no Cambridge Enterprise or Imperial Innovation, and all they do is actually write their patents, submit the patents, and then they sell the patents. So their TTO is actually doing this. So definitely the answer is yes. There will be companies that will license this IP, and they will from the university, and they can make it very successful. And I'm sure Emma as well have lots of examples of such. So definitely, if this is something that you want to stay in the academia, but you came across a good idea, definitely go to the TTO and discuss this.
Yeah, I would agree with that, absolutely. Either the TTO will find an alternative avenue for the technology, or we'll be able to bring in people if he or she is well networked or the university is well established. There should be people interested. Again, I would come back to the KTN and say use that as a resource to make introductions. So whether it's that it's a business, as Iris says, that's interested in the technology, so use the knowledge transfer advisors, whether it's to make introductions or to help you kind of find those business mentors or those business partners.
Great, thanks. And I know just from the emails that I've had in the past, Cambridge runs an iTeams scheme, which is quite good for this, where PhD students can submit an idea that they think they might want commercialized, and that gets sent around to different departments, and other students can sign up to kind of help research that idea and look at market entry routes. So yes. I believe that runs every term, so I recommend having a Google for that.
Yes. I can give an example of a compound that was developed in one of the institutes I know, and it became the researchers are still professors at the university, and the compound has become a blockbuster pharmaceutical, and so these things happen. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question from Double O. So I think he's asking whether the video will be deleted. So he came late and he would really be interested. So just as Daniel said, I think the videos are saved on the YouTube, so Wes's YouTube, so you could access it after the event ends. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and similar to all of the other events that we've hosted this term. So just search Wolfson Entrepreneurs Society into YouTube and it should come up.
Okay. So I think that's it for the questions. Daniel, do you have any other questions that we probably want to ask the panel before we?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think yeah, we've covered a lot of different things there, from yeah, the kind of differences between academia and commercializing research, the kind of identifying potential, commercialization potential in research ideas. We've touched upon the process and getting in touch with the technology transfer officers, and we've also talked about what kind of skills or tips for researchers there are. So yeah, I think we can yeah, join in thanking our fantastic panelists for joining us, and it was a great discussion. And just to kind of signpost that our next event, we run bi-weekly events. So I believe the next event should be on the 30th on kind of building a team. So that kind of joins nicely with what we kind of touched upon. Yeah, so do look out for that on our Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter pages. And with that, yeah, thanks again to our speakers, and see you at the next one.
Okay, just before we bid our farewells, it would be nice to have some closing remarks from the panelists. So Emma or Iris?
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been most enjoyable this evening, and hopefully some of what I said has stuck. If not, just look me up, Innovate UK. I'm more than happy to field some questions. I would say if you're thinking about this at all, go and have the conversation. Go and speak to the TTO, or go and engage with a KTN. You have a lot of the skill set already in being a PhD researcher, being an academic. That resilience is key. And you know, that passion for knowledge and exploring things is testament to you know, good entrepreneurs. So don't underestimate the skill set that you already have. And as I say, if you're even considering it, give it a go, and just start the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Iris?
Yes. Well, you know, life is all about doing things, and I think that once you put your fear aside, reality is less fearful than what we think. We always think ahead of time at all the hurdles and how things will actually not be as good, and actually life is fun. And when you start with entrepreneurship, it becomes so much more fun. It's exciting. Yes, you have the crashes, but you know, you dust yourself and you learn that. And after a while, you just know that you will do that and you will dust yourself. And so you don't even take that as seriously. I mean, you go through it. But the heights that you can get, and the development, the personal development, and the good that you can do is worth it. The fantastic people that you meet and the experiences that you go through is so much worth the risk that you take, that the only thing I will say, just beware, it's addictive. You start and then you continue for your next one and next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emma and Iris, for joining us today. And thank you for ending the panel on that good note. It gets addictive. So thank you everyone, and see you guys next time on the next event. Thank you.